Today we're going to be adding some more details to the Lego City countryside. It's looking all right, but it's still pretty rugged. We need to go through and just add some more details. We're actually going to start with the river. The river is meandering through the countryside quite nicely, but we've got a couple Lego animals here that want to change that. And of course, those animals are the beavers. Look at that. They're building a dam that was built with the cylinders. You got some print elements on the end of those cylinders, some connection pieces, also headlight bricks and various twigs. Looks like some of their logs are floating away downstream. And to detail this correctly, we wanted to have the flow of the river sort of slow down. So we removed a bunch of the tile, removed some of the slopes around the bank, and then we filled it in with the various colors of plate here. So the river flow has just decreased substantially because of the beaver dam. There we go. That's a fun story for the countryside, that's for sure. You've got to have some beavers in a river. So today we want to continue adding more details to this area. I've said in the past that no, this is not the final state of the entire countryside. We still need to do a layer of detail, and that's the cool thing about Lego cities is you can continuously add detail. So you'll see like a bunch of stuff here that's pretty rugged. Like these are all just brick built for now because all of these bricks are concealing the Mills plate colors underneath. So we just went through and framed it all using the 2x brick. So we need to slope that up and just add more detail to all of these areas. Like this is just a straight line, this ridge. So it'd be nice to bulk that up and just add more vegetation and different types of vegetation all throughout here. Also where we have our rock work, a lot of it isn't detailed with color inside. It just has its base layer of rock panels and slopes. So it'd be nice to add some more slopes to that, also cheese slopes and just like pops of different colors as well. And where we have those rock panels meet up with the 16x16 Mills plates, a lot of it is just like a harsh line between the gray and green. So we really do need to try and round that out using various part types and just sort of add more to our countryside. So what we've done is brought down one of our big build tables here and a bunch of our part drawers, and we've got all our colorful elements like the flowers, the like cheese slopes and rock building type stuff, and then we have more vegetation here, all the leaf elements, all the wedge plates for doing the blending, and also more bricks, and then all of these slopes in dark gray, so we can add more slopes to the rock panels and just various pieces. I'm sure we'll bring down more as we continue to work on this, but our plan is to just improve the look of this area. Although it looks good right now, it can always look better, so we're pretty excited about that. So of course we've got Mrs. Bricksie in the house here today, so we're gonna just crush it out here. Let's add thousands, and we're talking thousands of pieces to this countryside. We're starting at the far end by the end of the airstrip there, working our way down the river underneath that little footbridge that goes to the A-frame cabin, and then of course continuing down the river there toward the other bridge which services vehicles. It is looking awfully green here, just like the standard Lego style green, and by adding all of these details, we are going to be breaking up that green color, so that's good. But I've learned you don't want to overdo it with too many colors. Like I was messing around with some dark green wedge plates, which we don't have very many of right now, although we do have the wreaths, so I do need to part those out. Maybe we'll do that coming right up here, not in this video, but in the future. But you don't want to go too overboard with different colors just because it starts to look a little bit chaotic and a little bit sloppy in my opinion. So we are mixing in some of like the olive greens and then a lot of light and dark gray details being like rocks and all that different stuff. But just like that, I think we've improved the look of this particular area, and it's time to flip around the other way. So now we can see the bridge is in the foreground there, and we're working our way toward that new and improved Beaver Dam. Yeah, we've got our crater there that I'm adding some details to. One thing I will say about this area in general is there's not nearly enough trees. I'm going to talk about trees later on when we're having a look at the final product here, but we do want to build a lot more trees. It's just something that you have to work towards slowly over time just because Trees are very part intensive, making them rather expensive, and they also take a relatively long time to build. Even though we've had many tree days, we still don't have nearly enough trees for this LEGO City countryside. But we are blending in those rough looking edges that were caused by the brick blending. We're also adding more brick blending, and then we are putting slopes on top of all of those bricks to try and round out that sort of rough look that they have, right? And it's fun to see this area just sort of transform after laying thousands of pieces. Now there is that area around the gravel road where we have that camper being towed by the red truck. I'm not going to add any details there yet. We're just more so focusing by the river. I think we've got to build some more structures for those areas, and I don't want to go ahead and add details to areas where we plan on putting structures because details will just get in the way, and I've got to remove all that work. Also, you can see a little bit of exposed plate there. Well, we're actually going to be putting an extension of the gravel road. So I've got to rough in that gravel road before we add more details. Once again, zooming back and forth here, just sort of adding more to what we had already added. So I think we need to add some more rocks over here, do some more blending along here. Okay, there's some exposed mills here by the A-frame cabin. We better fill that in. But I kept telling Mrs. Bricksie, it's like, there's not nearly enough trees here. We need to build hundreds of more trees. We need to get on it. Eventually we're going to do that, that's for sure. The last thing that we need to do is just bring all of our parts back upstairs and clean up the area. We had that crater spot there. We built this. It's an 8x8 dark tan plate. It's got the wedge plates and also some cheese slopes in the center. What do you think we're going to do with that? It's going to be a fun story for the countryside. I'm always thinking about different stories that we can put in the countryside. There's always lots of suggestions, and that's something that we haven't really done yet in this area yet, is we haven't populated it with minifigures, although I don't want to add too many minifigures and vehicles in this area just because it's the countryside. It shouldn't be busy like the downtown core. But we did want to add a fun story right over here, so we decided to create that dark tan mock with the wedge plates and the cheese slopes on the 8x8 plate, and remove some of the mills and stick it right into the mills. So there's some depth and it's like a crater. And the creator was created by Thor's hammer. So there you go. It just touched down, and this story could likely evolve over time, but it just touched down now. So nobody has found it yet. There you go. It's Thor's hammer. So we put it right into the plate. You can see the 8x8 plate there, and then we framed it using more wedge plates and cheese slopes to make it look like it went and created a big crater in the large crater that's already here in the countryside. So as you saw, we went through and just added so many elements to this mock to improve the look of it, and I think it just took it to the next level. And I don't think it's done yet. There's still another level that we need to bring this to with those trees. I want to just build so many trees, like it's wild how many I want to build. I'll talk about that in a second, but we've got like the lime green flowers, and they sort of like trail off in certain areas. There's like clusters of flowers. I think those are really cool. Then we've got the curved slopes and cheese slopes all throughout, so it's like boulders everywhere. Also some of the regular slopes and just some elevated ground. But you can see how these lines have been sort of bolstered up. So this one here is now diagonal. This one pops out a little bit in the middle. This one pops out on the end and also in the middle. So filled in all of that space, added a bunch more detail to all of this rock work here. You can see the pops of vegetation and just more slopes to help round them off a bit more, make them look a little bit more natural. You're going to see all sorts of animals here, like seagulls and skunks, hammers, and bunny rabbits, a horse there. There's also a bear. There's butterflies and birds everywhere. So that's cool. We've got like this big trail of flowers coming off the river, going all the way toward the crater. And just so many more, or so many slopes were added to the ridge lines everywhere. So it just looks substantially better. We've got some birds high up in the sky here, such as the hawk circling around above. There is a eagle right here who's dive bombing after the fish. And then we have another eagle over here, which is also diving down as well. I did add some slopes over here, but nothing too crazy at this particular point because I think there's going to be some structures up here. So I don't want to get too crazy with all of this stuff just because I'd have to remove it all anyway once again. So that really doesn't make any sense. Did it all the way along here too, to the back of this train engine shed that needs to be destroyed, the blue one. And added some of the olive green. I think once again, if I start adding like the dark green pops everywhere, it's not gonna look that good. But we did do a bunch of blending with the wedge plates along the top there, and also some of the curved slopes in various sizes to try and blend in the rock panels, just that separation line between the two different colors. We did that all the way along. I think that works out. Also added some rapids to the river because we managed to find some of the cheese slopes in light blue or trans light blue on the pab wall. So I think that adds a little bit more texture to the water as well. So in regards to the trees, what I would like to do, for example, you see this tree here, which I think cost $25 to build roughly. I would like to have 6 of those within this little area. So that's how dense I want it to be. I'd like to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 6, and just have this area packed with big trees, not all the same style of tree, but with the varieties that you see here, have like a nice combination of trees like that, but packed everywhere. Like I wouldn't even consider this to be packed. I wouldn't even consider that to be packed. But it's crazy to think how many trees we've built since getting the studio and how many trees we had in the old layout. Like if you look at our old campground, it was packed. This city has consumed all of those plus probably the same amount over again. And it's nowhere near as packed as I would like it to be. Although I don't want it to be too dense in some areas. For example, the campground. I think the campground is good because you can see all the stories and they don't block the sight lines. So there is a certain mix in some areas where you don't want to overdo it. But I think in areas like this, it just deserves to be packed. And then you can get down to that POV perspective and you can see all the stories and all that stuff through the tree lines. And I just think that would look super cool. So that's sort of like the final phase of this. Of course, we could build some little structures, add more stories, and even add more ground vegetation, but I don't want to do that until we get more trees. So the next thing that I have to do in the countryside is just continue developing the undeveloped land and start building some structures as well. There's also a bunch of dark gray right over there that needs to be detailed. That shouldn't be dark gray over there. I regret building it in dark gray. It should have been green, but it is what it is. We can blend it in. But yeah, there we go. Glad that we were able to pack on thousands of pieces here today to transform this entire area in the countryside. Hope you enjoyed it, everybody. Please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for some more great stuff coming out in the near future, and have yourselves a great day. Bye for now.